In 1969, the US Navy launched a training program called SERE, Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape. It was designed to prepare soldiers for the worst thing that could happen to them: capture, interrogation, prolonged suffering with no known end date. The instructors running the program weren't interested in who could run the fastest or shoot the straightest. They had one objective: find the psychological point where each candidate breaks, and then teach them to live 1 inch past it. What they discovered reshaped how the military understood human performance for the next 50 years. The candidates who made it through weren't the strongest, the smartest, or the most experienced. They were the ones with the highest tolerance for sustained discomfort without reaching for a way out. Not pain tolerance, discomfort tolerance. The ability to sit inside something unbearable and not abandon their own mind to escape it. The Navy built an entire philosophy of resilience around that single variable. And every serious study on human performance since has confirmed the same finding in different language. The ceiling of what you can achieve is not set by your ability. It is set by the amount of discomfort you can sit with before you decide you've had enough. That's the rule, not a principle among other principles, not one factor in a complex equation. The rule. Your relationship with discomfort is the invisible architecture of your entire life. It determines what careers you're capable of building, what relationships you're capable of sustaining, what truths you're capable of telling, and what versions of yourself you're capable of becoming. Every other variable, talent, intelligence, opportunity, timing, operates inside the container that your discomfort tolerance has already built. If the container is small, nothing else matters. You'll hit the walls before any of those other qualities get a chance to fully express themselves. Marcus Aurelius understood this without the language of modern psychology. He wrote that the impediment to action advances action, that what stands in the way becomes the way. This is usually quoted as motivational shorthand, but he meant something more structural. He was describing the mechanics of a human life. The thing you don't want to feel is the exact thing sitting between you and the next version of yourself. The obstacle isn't blocking the path. The obstacle is the path. And your willingness to walk into it rather than around it is the only variable that determines whether your life expands or contracts. Most people never see this because the ceiling doesn't feel like a ceiling. It feels like common sense. You delay the hard conversation and call it timing. You take the safer job and call it strategy. You stay in the relationship that's half alive and call it commitment. You swallow the real opinion and call it maturity. Every one of these decisions feels rational in the moment because your mind has become an expert at repackaging avoidance as wisdom. The discomfort threshold fires, the exit activates, and your brain supplies a narrative that makes the exit feel like a choice. It never announces itself as a limit. It wears the costume of your own judgment. And that disguise is the reason most people live their entire lives inside a container they never consciously built. Here's where this gets specific. Think about the last decision you postponed. Not a trivial one, a real one. A conversation you needed to have, a change you needed to make, a truth you needed to speak. You knew what the right move was. You've known for a while. The information wasn't missing. The clarity wasn't missing. What was missing was your willingness to sit inside the feeling that doing it would produce. The tension in your chest, the uncertainty of how the other person would respond, the vulnerability of standing behind a decision that might not be received well. That feeling, that specific, physical, pre-action discomfort, is the wall. It's always the wall. And every time you treat it as a signal to wait instead of a signal to move, the ceiling stays exactly where it is. Marcus Aurelius spent 2 decades ruling an empire that was collapsing around him. Plague, war, betrayal from people he had trusted with his life. His private journals, the Meditations, are not the writings of a man who had conquered discomfort. They are the writings of a man who sat with it every single day and chose not to let it make his decisions. He wrote that the first task each morning is to remind yourself that you will encounter difficulty, ingratitude, and hostility, and that none of it has the power to alter what you are unless you let it inside the part of you that chooses. He wasn't preaching endurance. He was describing a practice, a daily renegotiation of the boundary between what happens to you and what you become because of it. This is the part most people misunderstand. Raising your discomfort tolerance doesn't mean becoming numb. It doesn't mean suffering for the sake of suffering or grinding through pain as a performance of toughness. It means developing the capacity to feel something difficult and not let that feeling make the decision. The discomfort still arrives. The tightness in your chest still shows up. The urge to exit still fires. The difference is what happens in the half second after. Do you let the feeling choose for you, or do you hold the feeling and choose for yourself? That half second is where your entire life is being built. Everything else is downstream of it. Practically, this works in every domain. In your career, the discomfort of having the hard conversation with your boss is the wall between where you are and the next level of what's possible for you professionally. In your relationships, the discomfort of full honesty, not curated honesty, not softened honesty, the real version, is the wall between the surface level connection you have and the kind that actually holds weight. In your health, the discomfort of the last 3 reps, the last 10 minutes, the meal you didn't want to prepare, that's the wall between the body you're maintaining and the one you're capable of building. The wall is always made of the same material. Only the domain changes. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, meaning the shape of your internal world will eventually become the shape of your external one. If your internal world is organized around the avoidance of discomfort, your external world will reflect that organization perfectly. Safe career, surface relationships, goals that are ambitious enough to sound good, but not uncomfortable enough to actually require transformation. A life that looks fine from the outside and feels like a waiting room from within. That's not a moral failing. That's architecture. You built the room to the exact dimensions of what you were willing to feel, and then you moved in. The Navy candidates who made it through SEER didn't come out tougher in the way people imagine. They came out calibrated. They knew exactly where their ceiling was, because they'd been taken to it and held there, and they knew it was further than they'd believed. That calibration changed everything that came after, not because the discomfort disappeared, because its power to make their decisions was broken. The most important rule of life isn't about what you do. It's about what you're willing to feel while doing it. Every future you've imagined for yourself exists on the other side of a specific feeling you are currently organized to avoid. That feeling has a size, it has a shape, and it's smaller than you think. But it will run your life for as long as you keep letting it choose for you. And it will stop the moment you decide to sit with it long enough to find out what's on the other side.